Hi, dear followers. Today we're going to be doing genetics and inheritance. Before we dive into it, allow me to present to you the father of genetics, who is none other than Gregor Mendel. And we call him the father of genetics because he laid down the foundations or the blueprints on which today we expand further knowledge into what we call genetics. Mendel was an Austrian monk, and in his life, living in the monastery, he carried out different experiments to check or to see the pattern of inheritance of genes when we pass them down from parents to offspring. He probably got into this because at this time, people used to think that whenever a tall person and a short person produce offspring or reproduce, the offspring would probably be medium size, meaning their perception was that characteristics from parents were kind of blending together to always give an intermediate characteristic in the offspring. So Mendel did these experiments to try and see if this is exactly what happens. Otherwise, what else could be happening in terms of inheritance of characteristics? Before we go into it, we need to understand what genetics is. In my way, I describe or I define genetics as the study of genes, because we're going to be studying genes and how these genes interact to bring about a particular characteristic that later on we shall be referring as phenotype. So there's some kind of ramifications that go on such that we have different characteristics appearing in the offspring whenever parents reproduce. Our first section will be dealing with the karyotype and sex determination. A karyotype is the chromosomal content of a cell nucleus, which shows the number, types, and shapes of different chromosomes. It means that to determine the karyotype of any organism, we need first to isolate the somatic cell, because karyotypes are determined using what we call a somatic cell. The somatic cells are just one type of cells that we have. We will also call them body cells, because in the body we have two major types of cells. We have somatic or body cells, and we have sex cells that we also refer to as gametes. For example, we have the sperm cells and the ova. Those are the gametes. So then when we want to work out the karyotype, we're looking at somatic cells. The human somatic cells, the normal human somatic cells, contain 46 chromosomes. And these 46 chromosomes pair up to form pairs of 23 chromosomes. Therefore, a number, 46 chromosomes, will be pairing up to form 23 pairs. In that sense, we'll say the cell is diploid. So the cell is diploid because this cell contains two complete sets of chromosomes. Two complete sets, we write it as 2n. The sex cells on their own, the gametes, have 23 chromosomes and not 23 pairs like somatic cells. So 23 chromosomes, we'll consider it as one set, one complete set of chromosome, because it has just half the number of chromosomes as compared to the somatic cell. In this case, we will say haploid for the sex cells, half for haploid. And since the somatic cells have two complete sets, 2 for the prefix di, therefore we'll say they are diploid. Di means 2. Diploid, two complete sets of chromosomes. Now, whenever two humans reproduce, the sex cells are involved. We'll then have fertilization occurring between a sperm cell and an ovum to produce a zygote. In this case, the zygote will be 2N, and the sex cells will each be N for the sperm cell and N for the sperm cell. Notice that N here is 23 and 2N is 46. It means that in the zygote, the male has contributed 50% of the genetic material and the female 50% of the genetic material to make 46. Chromosomes had to come down from the male as much as chromosomes have to come down from the female to produce that offspring there, which begins first as a unicellular organism, a zygote, before it multiplies, or that zygote will divide through mitosis to pass through all the embryonic stages and then the fetal stage and be born as a normal individual, which this time would be a multicellular organism. Now, it means that in each one of us, we received some chromosomes from our father. Half of the number of chromosomes found in each of our cells come from our father, and the other half comes from our mother. We can represent the karyotype using such tables like I've done here, and chromosomes will be positioned at different positions from position 1 to position 23. And that's why we see the pairings occurring. Notice at each position, I have 2 chromosomes at each position. On my diagram here, I've shortened it. I didn't write all the different figures, but we can figure out that in between here, between 1 to 14, there's 13 positions. Okay, from 1 to 13. From 2 to 13 are not represented here, but consider that they are present there. Hence, I was saying, at each position, we have 2 chromosomes. You see, position 14 has 1 chromosome and another one here. That's a pair of chromosomes. 15, the same. 18, the same. 1 and 1. And these ones, we refer to them, therefore, as homologous pairs of chromosomes, because when these chromosomes are at the same position, they form pairs of chromosomes that are similar in shape, in size, and gene content, and even the position of their genes that we call the locus of the gene, the position of the gene on the chromosome. So this is what makes these chromosomes similar or homologous. Homo means same or similar. Therefore, in humans, we have 23 pairs of homologous chromosomes to account for the 46 chromosomes that we have. Now, the first 22 pairs of chromosomes are referred to as autosome. From pair number 1 to pair number 22, we refer to them as autosomes. And the last pair, the 23rd pair of chromosome, we refer to it as gonosomes. Or sex chromosomes. Please don't confuse them with sex cells. Sex cells are gametes, they are sperm cells and ova. But here we have sex chromosomes or gonosomes, and they are made up of 2 types of chromosomes, the X chromosome and the Y chromosome. Now, why do we call them sex chromosomes? We call them sex chromosomes because they determine gender. It is these chromosomes that tell what gender a particular individual will be having. Because if we have at that position a combination of XY, like we have here, then this individual will be a male. If we have a combination of XX at that position, then this individual will be a female. Hence, they'll ask you such questions as to say, what kind of gamete will this individual here be able to produce? And the answer is simple. First, I need to identify the gender of the individual. To do so, I need to go to the 23rd pair of chromosomes where I find the sex chromosomes. And I notice this is a male. And from there, I can then say that since this is a male, what kind of gametes do males produce? The kind of gametes will be sperm cells because this is a male. That will be my answer. But now let us see, therefore, how this male does to produce these gametes. Gamete production occurs as a result of a kind of cell division that we refer to as meiosis, as opposed to mitosis. During meiosis, chromosomes are halved, and it is very important for this to occur this way because we know that the normal human somatic cell is made up of 46 chromosomes. Imagine we had a sperm cell with 46 chromosomes, and we had an ovum with also 46 chromosomes, and fertilization has to occur to form a zygote. When those two add up, we'll end up with 92 chromosomes instead of 46 chromosomes. Now this doesn't look like a human being anymore. Maybe you give birth to something like a tokoloshi, and then you start saying that my enemies have done it. So to avoid this, what must happen? The number needs to be halved to 23, and on the other side also to 23. And what is the process through which this is being halved? It is through the process of meiosis. That's why we also call it reduction division, because the kind of cell division where one cell divides to form two cells with half the number of chromosomes as compared to the original cells. And these cells have chromosomes that are not, or these cells are genetically unidentical, not identical, or genetically different from the parent cells. So let's see the way this person here produces his chromosomes. And we saw that the chromosomes, the parents each contribute 23 chromosomes. It means this person inherited these chromosomes from his mother, all these chromosomes from 1 to 23 here, and inherited these ones here from his father. So let him produce his own chromosomes now. For that to happen, first meiosis needs to occur. Okay. Let's therefore divide this right through. If we're dividing, it means I'm going to have up here, I'm going to have in total 23 chromosomes. And down here, I'm going to have in total 23 chromosomes. But then let's see how these 23 chromosomes are made. Okay. First, the 23 chromosomes up there, let us notice something. How many autosomes will be up here in total? There will be 22 autosomes. And how many autosomes down there? 22. So I'll have 22 autosomes plus what? Plus an X chromosome. Because notice we have here 22 autosomes from number 1 up to 22, plus this X here. That gives me one kind of sperm cell. I'm saying one kind, I'm not saying one sperm cell. And down here, I'm going to do the same. It will give me 22, down also 22, plus what? Plus Y. So I'll also have here another kind of sperm cell. There are two types of sperm cell, therefore. We have the 22 plus Y, and we have the 22 plus X. 22 plus X, and 22 plus Y. That is what we have. Okay. On the female side, what do we have? First, if we want to see the way the female produces her own gametes, we first need to change this into X to make this person female. Therefore, we have that combination there, XX. Again, we'll do the same thing. Up will be 22 plus X, and down will be 22 plus X. It's quick. We can easily notice that a female will always produce just one type of X cell. It will always be 22 plus X, 22 plus X. So let's work out the probabilities. During fertilization, what shall we have? We have two different types of sperm cells. Each one of them could be 300 million of them, and the other one 300 million of them, but they're facing only one type of ovum, which is 22 plus X. That's what we are having. Let's see. Fertilization is a random process. In one ejaculation, a male can release about 300 million sperm cells. It means if you're a female and you receive such blessings, then it means you'll be walking around with the whole community. Okay. So let's work out the odds. Fertilization is a random process. It means that at this point, we don't know exactly which sperm cell will be fertilizing that ovum, but all of them stand an equal chances, 50-50%. Therefore, of us who are here present today, we need to give ourselves a round of applause, because in that race, full of a lot of obstacles, we were the ones who made it, and many millions of idiots died behind us. So we can work this out. What if it is this sperm cell that fertilizes the ovum? By definition, we refer to the sperm cell as the female sperm cell, because it will lead to this. If it fertilizes that ovum, what will be the outcome? Here we'll have 22 plus 22. It gives us 44. Plus 22 gives us 44. That will be 44 plus what? 44 plus X, which is here. Remember, X is a chromosome. In total, now I'm sitting with 45 chromosomes, plus another X, this other X here. In total, I'm sitting now with 46 chromosomes. It's a human being, but this person is what gender? This person is a female, because of that double combination here. And what if it was this other sperm cell that fertilized? By definition, this one will be the male sperm cell. The same thing will also have 22 plus 22 plus 22. It will give us 44. Okay, plus, you can add this X here, plus X, that takes us to 45, plus Y, that takes us to 46. This is another human here, 46 chromosome, but if we look at the two chromosomes here, we are having XY, that is the combination. This will be a male this time. So we have a female and we have a male. Therefore, looking at this, between the father and the mother, who determines the gender of the child? The answer is the father. Although these people like walking around saying that they're the ones who are doing all the job. Now we can see who's doing the greatest job also. Thank you very much for attending. See you next lessons. Thanks. Cheers.